You guys know my raw takes, and this is about to be a raw take of the Five Nights at Freddy's film. This is going to be a spoiler-free review. The spoiler review will be coming out later on today. But after first watch, this is what I'm going to say about the positive things of the movie. First of all, the movie is not as bad as a lot of people are making it out to be. I was very concerned. I'm one of those people who love Five Nights at Freddy's, so I was very concerned on how they were going to handle this movie, how they were going to handle the characters, etc. But ultimately, I do think that they handled the characters with some respect. I was also surprised on how far they went on a couple of scenes. The movie's not scary whatsoever, but I'm surprised that they, went the distance with some of the scenes that they did, considering the movie is PG-13. They're also not too wild with this movie. Like, they don't try to completely change the entire plot from what the games were. Another thing is, it takes a minute to understand the motives, but once you understand it, everything falls into place. There aren't necessarily any weak motives in this movie. For the souls of the children, for Mike, or for Vanessa. There is another character that's not shown in the trailers, and I really didn't like their motive, but it works enough. Now to go on to the bad, which to be honest isn't going to be as much as I thought there was going to be. The scary tone that we usually got from the video games, that fear on the inside, that panic, was not there. It didn't necessarily feel like a Five Nights at Freddy's thing. It's weird. It's hard to explain. The animatronics look like the animatronics from the game. The setting looks like the setting from the video game. Everything is there except for the tone. I don't know why. I could say it's because most of the scenes were pretty illuminating. Like, most of the scenes were lit, like you could see everything. In the video games, it's pretty dark. There's corners that you can't see fully. You feel like you're being hunted. You didn't have that feeling in this movie. I can tell you right now, the fear that I have in the Five Nights at Freddy's video games is like up here. The fear that I had in this movie was down low to the point where I could focus on just about everything else, which does suck because I know that they're trying to make this movie, kid friendly, so they can make a lot of money off of it, etc., etc. It makes sense though. But at the same time, it does suck not having that Five Nights at Freddy's tone. Also, there was a scene that I'm pretty sure everybody knows what I'm talking about that should have been a little bit more painful. It felt rushed. The ending felt completely rushed. It felt like they just wanted to get that part out of the way to make room for the next movie. Now, they didn't shove like, oh my God, there's going to be a next movie in your face, but you could tell that there obviously is if you played the video games and, you see the ending scene. I do wish there was a little bit more, pain in that scene, just a little bit more screams, what I'm saying? A little bit more like, but there wasn't. Now, if you're a Five Nights at Freddy's fan, do I think that you'll like this movie? I think that you'll like it in terms of they're following the lore enough. But I can also see how a Five Nights at Freddy's fan would not like this movie because they do follow the lore, but they capitalize on the parts that nobody really wanted to see. As a Five Nights at Freddy's fan, I would love to see these animatronics angry, possessed, creepy. We didn't necessarily get any of that. There were no moments where I felt like the animatronics were being creepy because they were being possessed. And I know why they went the direction that they went in because these are, at the end of the day, kids. But that's not really the part that the FNAF fans want to see. They want to see these animatronics being possessed. They want to see them looking creepy in the corner, knowing that there's something off about these animatronics, but you almost never get that in this movie. Right off the bat, it just feels like they are kids possessing these animatronic suits, which are fair. That's fair. That's what it is. But there are some aspects from the video game that made the video game so good that they capitalized on while still keeping the lore accurate, keeping it like these are kids in these suits. They're not necessarily trying to hurt anyone that hasn't wronged them, but it's still creepy at the end of the day. And to be honest with you, if you're not a Five Nights at Freddy's fan, I'm pretty sure you'll just be confused on what's going on in this movie. You might like it enough to get into the video games, you might not. But I'll let you know right now, if you've gotten into Five Nights at Freddy's from the movie, the video games won't be your cup of tea because it's a completely different tone. It's like almost a completely different thing. The only difference is it looks the same. Kind of. Not even really looks the same, if I'm being honest. So enough of all this. What do I think about the movie? What would I rate it 1 out of 10? I think the movie is a solid 7 or almost a low 8 out of 10. The only reason why I'm giving it that high of a score from a Five Nights at Freddy's fan is because they did treat it with some respect. They did treat the video games with respect. My only issue, like I said before, was that they didn't focus on the parts that people would want to see. They focused on the parts that, nobody really cares about that much. Anyway, if you saw the Five Nights at Freddy's movie, comment down below and tell me if you liked it or if you didn't. Love you guys. I'll talk to you guys later.